It is a beautiful morning and welcome to the Business Lens of Rapid Television Abuja. It is great to have you with us on this edition where we look at how all these numbers, the figures, directly affect you and your businesses. My name is Divine Alex. So let's begin with the key business trends that matter right now, starting from the headlines. A milestone in Nigeria's pension industry, total pension fund assets have climbed to 28.04 trillion naira as of January 2026, which went up 26.64% from 22.86 trillion naira a year earlier, adding about 5.17 trillion naira in 1 year, as the number of retirement savings account holders grows over 11 million contributors. Now looking at regional trade to the next story, where the ECOWAS Parliament is urging businesses and citizens across West Africa to take fuller advantage of integration framework like the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme and the Free Movement Protocol, saying stronger cross-border trade and innovation are key to improving economic opportunities and welfare across the sub-region. Now on the power front, electricity generation on Nigeria's national grid has dropped below the 4,000 megawatt mark, with the Nigerian Independent System Operator reporting output at 3,940.53 megawatts as of 5 a.m. on March 5, as persistent gas supply shortage continued to constrain several thermal power plants across the country. Now on the fuel prices story, the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority says the recent rise in petrol prices, with independent marketers selling between 960 naira and 1,000 naira per litre, and Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited outlets selling around 960 naira per litre, is largely driven by market forces under Nigeria's deregulated downstream sector, especially as global crude prices react to ongoing tensions in the Middle East. And now to the next, where we have something happening with household borrowing. This is as regards to the new data from the Central Bank of Nigeria that shows Nigerians repaid about 1.33 trillion naira in personal loans within 1 year, bringing outstanding balances down from 3.32 trillion naira in November 2024 to 1.99 trillion naira in November 2025, which is a sharp contraction that has also put total consumer credit in the banking system down to 3.19 trillion naira. And now let's head to the market. Nigeria's stock market holds near the 200,000 mark as the NGX All-Share Index trades around 196,968 points, adding about 2.67 trillion naira to investors' wealth and lifting market capitalization to roughly 126 trillion naira. We will look at those stories and more on today's episode after the break. My name is Divine Alex. Stay with us. You are welcome back. This is still the Business Lens of Rapid Television Abuja. My name is Divine Alex, and diving into the headlines proper. But before I go deeper to tell you what we have for you today, I have with me on the call Daniel Efa, who is a global business analyst. Good morning, Daniel. You're welcome to Business Divine Lens. Good morning. It's been a long time that we saw you. We had you here.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been
a
while.
I don't think we've actually had time with you this year. You just disappeared on us. Okay, so let's get into it proper, right? Across Nigeria's economic landscape, we are seeing several important shifts, from rising petrol prices driven by global tensions to declining household borrowing. We also have something on growing pension assets, and now that is now above 28 trillion naira. And even electricity generation that dropped below 4,000 megawatts due to gas shortages. At the same time, regulators say fuel price fluctuations are simply the reality of a deregulated market. Now, so what do all these developments mean for businesses, for investors, and the everyday Nigerians trying to manage rising costs? This is what we are going to be breaking down today. Now, Daniel Efa, before I start talking about the headlines, I don't know if you heard when I was, reading out the headlines that we have today, but I want to get your, a quick one, which is on the fan story, where they said, oh, we are going to go digitalized. Started from March 1st, and then by March 5th, there's a new article saying, oh, President Tinubu is suspending this whole initiative because of the whole fiasco that happened, the situation that happened at the airport toll gate, where people were trying to pay through digital means, and then this situation had to force them to stay on long queues, and a lot of people had to have issues with getting on their flights. Some people missed their flights, and a lot of other issues that happened around there. Now, I now saw another article saying, oh, FAN is saying we do not agree. We have to still continue to, take through this, but we have to now start looking for other ways to get it done, but we're not going to suspend it. So I wanted to get your view on this particular story before I get into the other headline stories.
I think that this FAN issue, I think it's simply a reflection of how ineffective our public sector is. It might sound very harsh, but that's the truth. If this was a private business that wanted to migrate its customers from a certain point to another point, it would be entirely different. We've seen telecoms, for example. We've seen telecoms move from different plans, different approaches. We've seen telecoms move from trying to verify SIMs, trying to do a lot of processes that would take that they would use probably a 90-day rollout plan to ensure that people are properly migrated into. So why they keep the existing plan running, they give it as an option. So these are pure project management skills. It is not rocket science. You want to move people from cash to cashless, and you simply just stop cash and just wake up that people will suddenly they're like robots that suddenly will just they will just adapt to the new system. And that's the kind of chaotic approach that we've always done. Same thing was done, subsidy removal, so many things that governments will be in charge of. And they would create chaos. We had a naira redesign in this country that was chaotic, as if people have not redesigned currencies before. So when you look at when FAN is doing that, it is not surprising, because then it becomes a norm that people just wake up and feel like that they just make laws, and they just I believe everybody will just align with that laws immediately. Cashless the policy itself is fantastic. It removes corruption from the conversation, because I've been going to Togo not once not twice, whereby I'm surprised that if you stay in the airport for more than a certain period, they tend to charge you more. And I've gotten my ticket, and I'm seeing that the time was backdated, backdated by maybe like 2 hours. So there's no way I get into park for even 15 minutes that I would not pay extra, right? Those things would be easily solved with a cashless policy. So it is a fantastic policy. But there's what we call an implementation plan of any policy, and that is where we fail so well. We fail so well in implementing things.
That is planning.
I begin to wonder who are the people that are usually behind these policies? Is it that they just announce the policies and don't have zero plan in terms of implementing these policies effectively? So whatever they are trying to do now it has been stopped again. Whatever they want to do now, I think that they should come up with a proper implementation policy.
But that's the thing.
First.
Okay.
First things first. If people are moving to cashless, what are you giving them? Are they going to be having cards that they can buy from anywhere? Are they going to is there a scanning point they can basically just get to the point and simply scan on their phone and they pay? There has to be all those things in place, right? So as to remove the bottlenecks that will happen, because as soon as that payment system that currently operates with cash, max 20 seconds you are out of. In fact, down to 20 seconds you are out of there. You just pay and you are out. So except the cashless policy has to not just be faster, it has to be way better. That removes almost zero chance of creating any extra bottlenecks, or it becomes a useless policy. So whatever FAN is trying to do, they need to, when they are coming out when they are coming out properly to actually implement this, they need to, if possible, if they don't have the manpower, the brain power for it, get private sector guys to help you implement a project. That is, there's people they call project managers. Now, that is basically what they will do.
Now, with this whole situation, you even said it that it has been halted, but FAN is saying they're not going to halt it. it is not going to be halted. They are like saying we can't halt it. We'd rather look for other alternatives to make it work. And I think, like I told you, I think on March 1st, they started this policy. By 5th, there was a new article saying President Tinubu suspends. That is after the whole fiasco, the drama, even with the foreigner that had to jump a motorcycle to try to get in on time. Even, it circulated. These things were all over social media. A lot of people even had to complain. But then, FAN is now saying, we're not going to halt. We still have to continue doing this. Because I saw the article and I'm wondering, why the back and forth?
No, it's a policy that has to come, that has to happen. I think that we shouldn't be working on. We should be using cash at the airport. I think that is clear, right?
Okay.
The only thing that needs to happen is FAN needs to get it out right. Whatever companies that need to come in to help them properly implement the rollout plan, they should do that.
Okay.
Either you come through from the airport, from the airlines themselves, giving you database of their users, or for the next 90 days, people are able to acquire cards that they can load the cards and simply pay and simply just scan the cards on your scanner and it moves through. I think one of the, or is it the MM2? I think is it the MM2 or the MM1? When they are trying to pack, there's already a system like that allows you to just scan the card you load. And so why can't it just be implemented across board? So there's already a plan. So there is so many samples they can actually use. So they should just basically do that.
Done.
And exactly. So even now, if for example you are still allowing cash now, what you basically should do is as soon as you get inside, you must, before you leave the airport, get that card. So it's mandatory for anybody driving into the airport from now till so period to always get into the airport and always get a card. So as soon as you have a card, you don't have any problems and to just sort the payment and you move. So
okay,
this kind of conversation shouldn't be happening if we just take time to really do things the right
properly.
way.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel, for that one. But let's move to the next story on the whole petrol price issues, right? We've seen petrol prices climb from around 800 and I think 820, 830, 8 to 870, maybe 880. I think that's the people that are selling too expensive, right? But it was around 8 something rand per liter, and then it went to between 960 naira to 1,000 or 1,050 naira or 1,100 naira or 1,200, depending on your location. And the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority are now saying that this is simply market forces at work under the deregulated downstream sector. Now, how do you think this is possible? Now, if we're looking at this changes in prices, right, how sustainable do you think this is going to be in the pricing environment for Nigerians, especially as global tensions continue to influence crude prices?
So I think that the NMDPRA is not. I don't know how to put it, but I think that the NMDPRA is not basically helping Nigerians. Okay. Why am I saying this? The current Iran issue is barely 14 days old, right? And I can bet you that a lot of the stocks, the turnaround time or the turnover of our crudes, of our petroleum stocks is nothing less than 18-20 days. So how is it possible that within that short period that prices have gone so high, and the NMDPRA cannot step in and say, marketers, it can't be this fast.
Okay.
Right? Because your stocks are still there. So why are we skyrocketing the prices this fast? However, I'm also of the opinion that if the prices was also going down, would have expected the marketers to also crash their prices, right? So as long as it's a deregulated sector, people.
Daniel, are you still with us? Daniel, are you still with us? Daniel, are you still with us? Okay, I think something is definitely wrong with his network, but he was trying to explain something. Now, this is not the first time that we've had situations where stuff happened somewhere and then, you know, it hits close to home. But the question is, why the speed? Why is everything changing so swiftly, so very fast? Because if we are to look at distance logically, right, most of these products that they have right now were bought when all of these prices were around 700 to 800, and all of a sudden you're seeing the changes at the pump prices 1,000 plus, and these things are going to, you know, mount a lot of pressure to Nigerians, to ordinary Nigerians. I don't even want to talk about my experience with the whole electricity drama, because I just don't want to talk about it, because the last weekend was so funny. We barely had light. They just kept flashing it, and then, you know, the electricity company is also talking about the fact that there was shortages, you know, and this is one of the reasons why we are now seeing some of these issues come up with our electricity and all that. And now we have the issue of fuel. People can't even comfortably run to buying fuel prices, petrol, because they could easily just use these things and then, you know, to cover up these gaps. And I would really wanted to get his opinion on that, with also the fact that I saw over the weekend that the Iranian fuel crude reserve was bombed, and the fire was so massive that I am just trying to look at how this can actually affect us, if this is going to be a signal for us to push ahead, or if it is going to be something that we need to take a pause on. So let me get into the next story, but before that, let me find out if Daniel is back on the line. Daniel, are you back? Daniel, are you back on the line? Oh, okay. So let's move on to the next story before he returns to join us. And that is talking on, like I already mentioned, the electricity generation that has dropped again. And with the Nigerian Independent System Operating reporting output shortage of between 4,000 to the now 3,940 megawatts. Like I talked about it, largely due to gas supply shortages that is now affecting thermal plants. Now, the question is, how much is this energy constraint affecting productivity for Nigerian businesses? How much is this going to have effect on households? I don't even want to talk about the fact that a lot of Nigerians had to come on social media to talk about the fact that they're having issues with their lights, and the petrol prices is going, you know, swiftly up. And a lot of them are into those food businesses that they have to, you know, like store a lot of things in their refrigerators, and they are unable because, one, the light is not stable, you know, it is not helping them in any way, and then the fuel prices is going up. At the end of the day, who is bearing the brunt of all of this? Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue having this conversation. Do not go anywhere. This is still the Business Lens on Rapid Television Abuja. Stay with us. You are welcome back. This is still the Business Lens on Rapid Television Abuja. My name is Divine Alex, and I have with me on the call Daniel Efa, who is a global business analyst. Something happened and then he just disappeared, but I think we have him, you know, back on the call now. Daniel, are you still with us, or, you know, has something happened? Did Nigerian network happen to you?
Yes. Yes. Apparently that's what happened.
Okay, I understand. We understand, yes. So I was talking about the fact that there's a whole lot of development with those fuel prices, and the price is going up at the pump, and people are not finding it funny. And on the other hand, the electricity people are also not helping us, because now they're saying that it dropped from 4,000 megawatts to 3,009. And like, all of these things have a lot of effects to Nigerian businesses. They have a lot of effect to a common Nigerian. I think I saw, I said it earlier, that I saw a particular business vendor come out to, you know, ask And let's just say people, what is going on? Because my food is spoiling. You go to a normal household, they're telling that their foods that they're stored in the refrigerator to assist them. Because when you make it plenty, it tends to help you with the cost. Now it is spoiling. They can no longer store food in the refrigerators to assist them. And then on the other hand, people that are doing businesses, people like frozen foods business people, they're also complaining that a lot of their goods are spoiling. So I wanted to get your view. How much is this energy constraint affecting productivity for Nigerian businesses and for Nigerian households?
Okay, so the last 6 years, we've had COVID-19, Russia and Ukraine crisis, and now the Iran-US crisis. And they've all been major geopolitical events, pandemics that has affected energy prices globally.
Okay.
Right. And these particular issues has exposed countries like ours that do not have leaders that are forward thinking. Right. And that is why an issue like this had happened. In the last 10 days, there has never been a conversation from any policy maker to say this is what we would be using to insulate the Nigerian people kill. Right. Energy. Our energy is a major part of any economy, and it's surprising that with the kind of resources we have in terms of energy, we can compete with any of the top 10 in the world in terms of both gas and crude oil. And you can basically, and you're surprised, and it's surprising that any issue that happens anywhere, we are going to first be affected. In fact, within the first 3 days, we'll be affected. That's basically what's happened. Now, gas prices are going up. We can't have electricity simply because we've run that sector with so much inefficiency that you don't even know what is happening there. It is only what we are told at any point in time that we believe, right? So you can see that Gencos, the gas suppliers, they will just go off as soon as prices move beyond normal, and that is basically what's happening. Right now, why should we be in 2026 and we do not have a considerable level of renewable reserve in terms of energy supply that can be used to shock any kind of global pressure that is happening like this? We have so many countries in the world that also have crude. These countries have started moving towards renewable energy, not because they have not because they want to spend or want to waste money, but because they understand the concept of energy security. That what if there is a shock globally? What if there's an issue globally, like what we're having now? Like how do our people survive? That is a front burner conversation. The only person that is going to guarantee of survival right now is the president in Aso Rock, because he has solar panels, right? But the people that is being governed nobody cares. I'm not sure there's all over Nigeria at the moment we are averaging 7 hours of power supply. I'm not sure.
I think it is, because if you say 7 hours, that's really big. I think you should talk about 2 hours.
So it's so funny, and it's just a week into the crisis. So this crisis lingers for another 1 month. That means that we practically will not have power. People will be borrowing people's gen to use, or people will be going to people's houses to charge, or you have to carry your freezer to someone's house. What is happening? It's just very very laughable, and I can't say I'm happy. We are saying it's just sad that it is the countries with resources that have this. Because if we don't have resources, at least we know that anything that happens to the world happens to us. I was talking about it was on Spaces last week, and I was saying that this crisis, if you sit down with analysts, they can tell you the worst case scenario. I was listening to the Qatari finance minister on CNN the other day. He was saying that there's a likelihood, they've already done a simulation. There's a likelihood oil prices will get to $150 per barrel, and they are already working on measures to ensure that their citizens don't feel the brunt too much. That is a country that is even way richer than us. So what exactly are we doing? Nothing. We just keep quiet, and we'll always be reactive, not proactive. So this kind of conversation around gas supply should have been it should have been sorted, should have been talked about that if it's going to cost us another extra 1 trillion or 1 billion for 1 month for gas suppliers to keep supplying gas no matter what the prices are, so that Nigerians will keep having power supply. It should have been talked about, because this has a direct impact on the productivity of the country. I really don't understand. Sometimes I just wonder if if the country was someone's business, is this how they'll be managing the business? That is just the way I just look at it.
You know, this thing you just said now just reminded me of the fact that somebody said, oh, we just need somebody who is really into business to be able to, you know, run the country as a business, so that we find a way to make these things work. But now let's go back to Nigerian businesses that rely heavily on power. Like I said, for example, people that, you know, sell what's it called, frozen foods, right? Ice blocks and the rest of them. These are people that really need this. Now, with this whole tension, with this whole shortage of gas supply, what would you say to the government to actually step in? Or how would you advise the government to actually step in to assist us in, even if it's 2 hours steady, stable light, so that these businesses do not continue to suffer? Because no matter how much we want to talk about the fact that, oh, they're not doing it properly, we need to also seek out an alternative, a solution that can assist households and businesses. Because if this businesses closes down today, it's getting down to the households, which means that a lot of us might not even have food. And it is going to be really, really crazy. So what would you say to people who could actually step in, and how would you advise them to step in to assist us in this?
As a country, we need at least 25,000 megawatts generation daily to be able to at least compete with our peers, right? We currently, the highest we've done in recent times, about 4,500. Any other thing there is... but if as it stands, if it is more than 4,500, our discourse will return the power. That is how unproductive we are when it comes to power generation or even utilization in the country. Right? And right now it's about 3,900. Right, so I think the answer is simple: just generate more. There's nothing that can move a nation forward. I think it's the most important resource. Power generation is the most important resource for anything industrialization or productivity of a country. So the fact that we are still grappling between 3,900 for the past 25 years is a disgrace to us as a nation, right? So the conversation for anybody in the power sector, any policy making decision of the government is just give Nigerians more power. That's just the solution to this. There is no other way around it. Right now, you cannot go beyond the lows that we are. Right? We are already low, right? In fact, how low we are the testament is the amount of penetration of solar alternative power for consumers. Like, households are, like, the trend is something. The industry is getting to over $2 billion right now. To tell you how bad it is, right? So these people are already creating alternative power for themselves already, right? With the 4,000 you said you're generating. So if it goes lower, it means that you are rendering people into extreme poverty, because businesses that cannot generate, that cannot utilize your existing infrastructure would have to look for alternatives that are way expensive than what they are currently getting from the government. So either way, it is tied to our economic growth. So you cannot come out in next 5 months and tell me inflation is dropping or you're having GDP growth when you don't even have the most important resource of GDP growth. So it's a very, very funny time that we are in, and it always exposes nobody would recognize the quality of an individual unless there is a difficulty the person is meant to solve. So if you tell me you are doing fantastic because inflation has gone to the highest point and is basically coming down, which is normal, but now there is a problem, what are you doing to solve the problem? That is what people will reward you for. Right? The reason why Barack Obama is cited as one of the best presidents in the US is because he came in during a global economic crisis, and he was able to steer the nation successfully out of it, and they came out good. So nobody rewards you when everything is going good. People reward you when there is a problem and you're there to solve the problem, putting the people first.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel, for that one. And it is great to have you on today's edition. But our time is already fast spent. So let's quickly head to the stock market update. And now the Nigerian Exchange Limited All Share Index is trading around 196,968 points, getting about 0.08% in the latest session, keeping the market close to the key 200,000 milestone. Now, we also have investor wealth that increased, roughly to 2.67 trillion naira, which pushed total market capitalization to about 126.4 trillion naira. That reflected sustained buying interest in Nigerian equities. And then when we look at the oil and gas stocks, the rally where the latest gains were largely driven by oil and gas and industrial stocks. They are also rising globally. Crude oil prices boosted investor sentiment and sector performance on the exchange. Now, before you go, Daniel, are you with me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, what would you say about the current situation of the stock market today?
Yeah, I think sentiment is positive, and I'm seeing there's a possibility that the market cap should get to at least 150 trillion before the end of the first half of the year. And that being because I think that was it before the pandemic and before the Naira devaluation, it was hovering around $1 billion or thereabouts. And so if $1 billion right now should be around that same number, So 145 trillion should still be the goal at the end of the day. Sorry, I mean 10 billion. 150 should still be around the goal at the end of the day. So as it stands, because of what's happening with Iran and the US,
Okay.
we would see people would tend towards oil and gas stocks. They will definitely get more rallies. Gold, I think I was seeing Japan also doing good numbers.
Okay.
Those areas where there's a potential of stability, you get, and banks also will still get. 31st is approaching for capitalization, so banks will also still get some bit of subscription a lot in terms of people trying to buy those stocks. Another major factor, because this is just the first quarter of the year, we also see a lot more people going into growth stocks than value stocks because of what the market did last year. People are starting to have higher expectation of what the market should do this year. So you see people go into stocks that are less than 50 naira per share, 20 naira per share, 10 naira per share to quickly be able to do 500, 400, 300%. Those kind of. So you see some of those small industrial stocks getting a lot more subscription, or a lot more buying sentiment in very, very short term. So yeah, I think the market is one part of the country that we're enjoying at the moment. Everybody wants to make money, but then I always say that it is just the invisible part. We need to still work on the visible part that would guarantee those stocks movement to become real growth in the economy.
The economy. Okay, thank you so much, Daniel, for being on the show today. And that is it on today's edition of the Business Lens on Rapid Television Abuja. Join us again on Thursday at 11 a.m. My name is Divine Alex. Thank you so much for staying put, and don't forget to stay with Rapid TV. Bye for now.